All right, and I think we're live. This is pretty exciting. We are 8 minutes away from when the stock markets are going to open, and we will talk in quite a lot of depth about what we're going to be doing once the markets are open, about some of the individual stocks. But let's just cover really briefly a few things that have been happening over the weekend, going on from last week. Last week, if you were asleep for the whole week and you weren't sure, a lot of stuff happened. There's a massive tech sell-off. We had massive downs on some specific tech stocks. The overall market actually didn't do too badly. There wasn't a lot of stuff happening over there. The overall S&P 500 didn't really have that big a hit, but if you were heavily invested in tech like myself and like a lot of other people who have been growing over the last however long it's been, about a year, Kathy Wood with ARK Invest, etc., then you will be feeling the pain from lots of red. But we have some interesting news. So the relief package seems to be further down the line now. The $1.9 trillion relief package in the US, which should now hopefully boost things a little bit as they have been doing in the past. But we have a counter weight, which is the bond yields are up. I think it's about 1.6% or something. And that probably means that that's going to impact the futures. The futures were up on markets, including most of NASDAQ stuff, but I think they're now falling to below. So I was looking just earlier, and in pre-market, everything is flat. So we have 0.18%, one set. Let me... middle screen to right. So we have this is the extent. I still need to sort out my software to get the pre-market and post-market stuff, but Google is where it's at. I apologize. I will fix it at some point. I actually, interesting story. I actually asked the CEO of FREETRADE last night if they're planning to introduce some cool graphs and stuff so that I can go and use them in my live streams, and he said that they will on Twitter. You can go and check that exchange out. So maybe we'll have some cool things to go through on that. But everything's sort of flat at the moment, slightly up, slightly down. And indeed, these are just some random shares that were really fluctuating a lot last time around. And so at the moment, it's really hard to tell which way it's going to go. We actually had, I think it was on Friday morning, a lot of stocks were going up big time in the pre, like by 2%. And even when they opened, they were like 1.5%, 2% up. But then they began falling. And the sales that were pretty exciting on Thursday became even more exciting later on Friday. So we shall see which one of those two scenarios plays out. We're only 6 minutes out. We already have a few people on here. It's very exciting. Thank you very much for joining me. As I'm mainly interested in US stocks, we have a question from Bobo. As am I. Do I ever react or watch to the... I mainly really talk just broad market, stocks that I'm particularly invested in, overall trends, some news as I see them, some interesting stuff about some of the companies I particularly care about. And if anyone has questions or points, maybe sometimes we discuss those as well. We just jump around really. Tesla 604. Yeah, I need better dates. I'm seeing 603. It's going to be, yeah, the data I have from pre stuff sucks big time, and I either need to go and jump on Webull, which they've actually offered me to do, but it seems weird because I'm not actually in the US, and neither is pretty much everyone watching this, I presume. But I'm hoping that some of the UK platforms will get better. So trading 212 at the moment in terms of the charts and things are the best, but none of them really do any pre-post market, not only trades but data either. So there's nothing really much for me to show at this stage. But I will be throwing the screen on. We're going to be jumping around once things begin going up and down, which will be a little bit more exciting than me talking. But hopefully I'm going to show you this exchange on Twitter. It was quite amusing. It's amusing to a guy who's really brand new. Like, I've been on Twitter for years, but I don't do anything. And I've begun sort of trying to be more sociable on there because it's apparently a thing I should be doing more of. And so, where are we? Yeah, I messaged, here we go, I'll show you this. I messaged Adam Dodds, who is the CEO of Twitter, and I asked him if they're going to add a cool desktop version with candlesticks and all this, because I thought, well, that's the kind of question you ask on Twitter to the CEO of FREETRADE, and he replied yes. So here is hopeful. I liked his comment. Hopefully some cool stuff is happening down at FREETRADE that's going to be coming down the line. All right. any comments from anyone just before we get into the nitty-gritty, before everything opens. Unfortunately, I haven't had the time this morning. I was planning to maybe set up a subscription for CNBC or something like that so that I can, go and turn on the bit where they open things up. So I don't have that quite yet. My tech is basic at this stage, but I'm learning. I'm only a few days into doing these lives. I hope you guys appreciate this. We will get better. We'll get better as time passes. Also, I had to make a few videos. I've already published 2 videos this morning, and I've actually finished a third on my second channel that I've already scheduled. But my second channel, I have to schedule them because they take much longer to actually process on YouTube because it's just a small channel. So yeah, 3 videos this morning. This is my 4th one. So excuse me for not getting ready. I've been busy. All right. What are people saying? Tesla not represented in the entire stock market? Yeah, I completely agree. I just talk about stuff that's interesting to me, interesting to the type of things that I talk about in my channel, interesting to potentially some of the people watching because they found my channel through some of the content, probably maybe share some interests. I get it. Like the stuff I'm talking about is highly unrepresentative of the market in lots of ways. But I do talk about the overall market as well at quite a lot of length. But hey, you can't cover everything. I'm not CNBC, so there we go. We just talk about stuff that's interesting, I think, because these things, like the other stuff, it doesn't really move up or down. Sort of gradually gets you the 5% over a year or something, and like yeah, it's interesting. But let's talk about the shakers and the movers. That's where the blood is, right? What do we got? Should I invest in S&P 500? I don't know, Kian. I do. A lot of other people do. It grows it's been growing on average for quite a long time. And so, yeah. Looking forward to see some AMD dropping under 75. Oh, okay. Some people are predicting more sales. I did a poll, actually. Let's have a look at the result of this poll quickly, just as the markets are about to open. I did a poll on my YouTube channel. If you don't see them, I think it's on mobile that they really aggressively promote them. It's if you go to the channel and there is a where is it? If you go to the channel and you go to the community tab bit, sometimes I post random stuff on there. Sometimes it's really random, so excuse me for that. But in the poll, I asked predictions for next week, and we had more sales, Tesla $200, 40%. We had 812 votes. Start of hodl to the moon, 14%. Ups and downs, day trader central, 30%. Deleted investing apps until Christmas, 17%. So that's roughly the distribution. Almost half people think that the sales are going to continue and get even better, which is kind of good and bad at the same time. For people who have run out of all money to invest and are just sitting here watching, like me, not so great. If we continue for long enough that I come across a little bit more money, then we'll be good. But that's going to be a long amount of red. So let's see what happens. What are my views on Neo and Palantir? I hold both, not much on either, and mixed projections on both. From my personal view, I'm going to be talking specifically about lots of companies over the next few weeks, starting with Tesla when I actually come around to doing the work on it. But I keep meaning to build my the sort of model I can show to people. Anyway, we're live. We're go. Monday, Kirk. All right. What do we got? So let me turn on some candlesticks and begin seeing what's happening with some of the stocks that I, in particular, am excited about, but most other people may not be. So I apologize if you don't care about these stocks. I do, and that's why I sit here talking about them. All right, how do I jump? This is the sort of novice level stuff. Right, so we have relatively flat open so far. Not much is going on. What are we? We closed like 597 or something. Didn't what am I on? Tesla. Okay, let's look at Tesla. All right, not too much fun so far. Uncertain, just a bit of jumping around. Big red candlestick forming. We shall see what happens with that over time. AMD, another one of my favorites. Ooh, somebody wants $75. They might just be getting it. Look, the first few seconds are showing that maybe something's happening over here. What's happening with Apple? Wow. Apple is showing candlesticks. Is everything going down? No. Sales day for Apple today. Anyone got any money to spend? Not that I'm advising or recommending anything. This is purely educational, actually probably more entertainment type content here. I am not a financial advisor. Blah blah. Do your own research. What are we on the S&P 500? S&P 500 at the moment overall, not doing very much. All right. We're in 595 for Tesla. Things are beginning to drop. Okay, so we're seeing negative candlesticks across some of the big stuff that I hold personally. We're seeing everything beginning to drop across the board. Slightly different trends. Whoa! Apple is really on sale. Look at that. Look at that red. It's just like growing downwards. How far is it going to go? What's happening with Apple? I think I must have missed some news over the weekend. What's happening with Apple? All right. Thank you very much, Marcus. Appreciate it. People saying that they like the format. Yeah, my format is just like quite as honest as I possibly can be, just saying things how I see them. Unfortunately, it means that sometimes I say lots of really positive stuff about companies. Sometimes I say some really negative stuff about companies. They only really notice it when I say the negative stuff. Unsurprisingly, you might have noticed a couple of recent videos. I pointed out a few things that Trading 212 were doing that I'm not particularly happy about. Although before that, I made a ton of videos where I said huge amounts of positive things about them and referred many hundreds of people over in the process. But people forget that bit very quickly because it's only the negatives that count. All right. We are seeing a bad start to the day. The first 3 minutes, we are negative. Even Amazon, what is Google doing? Google is not doing. Google just doesn't care. It doesn't do what it just owns the world, and they're like, everyone else can play these games. We're not playing. We're seeing already like what is it, 1.5–2% drop over here on Apple. It's quite a noticeable amount. Got like a percentage point on Nvidia. AMD pretending that it's going to climb back up, although we all know that every time this happened last week, they get pushed back down. And Tesla is down to below 590. Whoa, this is going to be a crazy day. I can tell already. I can tell it's going to be jumping up and down. Another one of those. You make 10% margin within a day. Day traders delight. It's one of those where you think 0.15% on trades doesn't sound so bad when stonks go up 10% and then back down 10% within the same day, or the other way around. All right. What are people saying in the comments? I keep chatting more, but reading comments less. So I apologize. I'm going to be a bit quiet sometimes as I read and try to figure out what people are saying. But you guys can just kind of watch, I guess, what's happening and listen to me drink my tea. Anything interesting here? Hopefully Apple will stay down. Okay, somebody is wanting to buy. What's Google? Nobody knows what Google is. It's a mystery wrapped in a conundrum, obscured by uncertainty, covered by lies. Nobody knows what it is. It's this mysterious thing where you can find things. Don't forget, guys, first hour is a mad hour. Every hour is a mad hour. I don't know, Bo, where you've been last week. Every hour is nuts. Last week I did a live stream. I was like, okay, things are flattening out after the start. Let's go and talk about something interesting. Let's go and make an actual video. Turn this off, go and make a video, and then immediately look at my candlesticks and go, oh no, time to turn the live stream back on. All right, let's talk about it a bit more. What is going on? What's happening? What sector are you most confident in? It depends. So I invest for the long term. And so while this is like, I sometimes say that, you know, I enjoy watching these things with my cup of tea, etc. But I don't really care. Oh, something's happening on my camera. I don't really care too much about the short-term fluctuations, despite me getting quite excited by watching them and trying to understand what might be causing them and all that kind of stuff. But in the long term, I am particularly bullish just about industries which are fundamentally transforming the specific industries within which they operate. And for the majority in the modern day that we live in, that's tech, various kind of forms of tech. And there's a reason why I'm invested in that those types of things can grow considerably faster than large companies in an established industry which itself is not really changing, or potentially that company itself is not really changing anything within that industry. And so that's why, like, when I invest, most of my money is in tech, not because I'm like a tech lover. I mean, that maybe is part of it, maybe, I don't know. But I think a lot of it is because I'm trying to assess like which types of companies are likely to grow. I'm a growth investor. Which are likely to grow not by like 3% or 5%, which could grow by 40, right? And that's kind of thing that I get quite excited by trying to work on. And so that's why I'm invested primarily, almost exclusively in tech, because that's my view on life. But anyway, I'm a small time random guy on YouTube that knows nothing. So don't take your advice from me. Oh, Scott said there's a weird effect. Yeah, I think let's try turning it down. I apologize for that. It might be because of so the mic is actually pretty good, and the routing is good. And when I record it exactly the same way as it's now coming through. But it could be the compression that YouTube then does. So tell me if it gets better. I've just turned the volume, the gain on the microphone down, and hopefully that'll improve the quality a little bit. I forgot because I actually turned it back on this morning after live last week in order to go and record some videos. But I think I need to turn it down for YouTube. What I think charge deposit is going to be back to normal. They're already back to normal today. I got the email. I updated some of my descriptions that mentioned the higher $1,000 deposit. So now the minimum deposit is $200. So if anyone was waiting and wasn't sure about signing up, you get absolutely nothing. You get nothing at all. No free shares, no bonuses, no anything if you use one of my links. But I get paid. But I would really appreciate it if you use it, if you decide to go and use Toro yourself anyway. So thank you very much for anyone that does use one of those links. I don't know why you would, but thank you. So yeah, what's happening with Bitcoin? Does anyone know? What are we doing with Bitcoin? My eToro portfolio is so horrific. This is so bad. Okay, what? Okay, Bitcoin's still, yeah, 50.2. It was 51 something yesterday, so it's dropped back a little bit, but at least we're not at the 45 mark that it was at one point. So we'll see. I don't have much. I have like I put $2,000 worth of Bitcoin in there. Now I have less than 1,800. So this is not a particularly big holding for me. So, but it's interesting. I think long term, we shall see. Hey, what else are people saying? Oh, to me, people saying it sounds good. If I'm hoping that I think what happens when I do the live streams is that the volume is less important because it automatically adjusts at YouTube's end. So if I turn the gain down, then hopefully the quality will actually go up because it won't get as near to peaking. Because I think when it compresses, normally, like when I record, I'm just below. This is tech geek speak, and I'm sorry for it, but I record to just below where sort of like the maximum should be. And on the normal quality that I submit to YouTube, which is at 45 kilobit, it actually is pretty good. But when it does it for these live streams, I think it compresses it, and therefore it just hits the peak all the time. What's my largest holding? Tesla. I recently invested way too much money in Tesla because the price was so low. I bought in at 613, which now doesn't sound so good. Now look at this. Look at this bounce back, by the way. We were down here, down to like 685 with it. So like 2% or something. And now we're back up. So people had their morning sale and now people are buying. So it's kind of interesting. Short-term blip, but we're going back up. Yeah, so I have way too much Tesla. I'll show you over here. It's mainly because I had a look. I found some money under the sofa and decided to put it into Tesla, and I bought a few shares of them. So in this portfolio, I have a ton of it, and I have a share in Toro, and I've got a small amount on FREETRADE. I can't show you FREETRADE because it doesn't have a desktop app. But I predominantly carry the S&P 500 on the FREETRADE at the moment anyway on my invest portfolio over there. So let's jump back into the charts and see what is going on. I need to add some more cool things to look at over here. Tesla is up. Interesting. So we're like 1.5% now up on Tesla. What are we doing with AMD? AMD is bouncing just a little bit more slowly, but bouncing back up. So unfortunately, whoever it was, I wanted to buy at 75. You might not be getting it, but given given how it is, you'll probably be able to buy it at 70 in an hour's time, and then it'll be up to 97 later in the day or something crazy like that. We shall see. Nvidia doing a small bounce too. Apple. Apple is sort of trying to bounce, but way slow compared to the others. So is this a bounce, or is this gonna just be a little bit of resistance as people are happy at 119 and then it'll continue falling? We shall see. Amazon the same as Apple really at the moment. People saying Google data is slow. It might well be. Oh, apologies. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. I need to slap myself in the hard. I opened all these way too quickly this morning. They're all 1 minute. They're all 1 minute. You're okay. My bad. Now we're good. Now I can pretend that I know what I'm doing. All right. Look, S&P 500 is up, not much, but the dip here wasn't as big. This is Tesla basically over here, I guess. Interesting. So, how is everyone else doing? What are you guys invested in? Tell me in the comments. It'll be interesting because you can see what I'm invested in and what I care about. But it'd be interesting to see what people like. Are people very experimental? I'm noticing recently there's been a massive trend for younger people to go much heavier on a lot of things that are considerably more volatile than even the kind of stuff that I invest in. And I've been told by some of these guys that I am like old for being risk averse, for targeting what I think are pretty aggressive numbers on an annual basis. But people are investing in lots of SPACs. People are investing in the latest Chinese company that says they're going to manufacture electrical cars that hasn't manufactured a single one yet, or something else like that. So what are people doing? Plug power. Hi Sasha, what are your thoughts, if you have any, on Virgin Galactic? I have. It's just they're sort of like a bit more advanced in a way than I had similar questions asked of me, like what do I think about Lucid, or what do I think about Nikola or other kind of things. And to me, like, they're much further along the road than those guys, but as it stands, I don't really see the final product yet, and I don't see sight of I know they keep saying that some year in the future you're going to be able to do these suborbital flights, blah blah, but as with all these things, it keeps getting pushed back. And what specifically they're doing, if you look like say a year back or 2 years back, specifically the type of thing that they're promising they're going to be doing shifts so much that I still don't really know what the proposition is, let alone how to value the proposition and what it might be doing. So for me, I'm just like, I have no idea how you go and value companies. I think there's huge amounts of speculation on those kind of stocks rather than effective valuing of the actual potential. So I just don't play in that because I can't value them properly. And I don't really sure, like the Bitcoin maybe is on the speculative end out of the kind of things that I invest in, but I just can't value things where I don't know the fundamentals of what the product or the proposition is going to be like. So I just stay away from that because I can't put a number on it. What's Twilio doing? People are saying Twilio is doing something. Let's have a look. I'll not make that mistake again. Oh, look at that Twilio bounce. That is very nice. I own Twilio, not the whole company, but a small part of it. I wish I did. These guys do some cool stuff. I actually use their services for some of my online businesses as well, which is a whole separate conversation, but they're doing well. What do people say about Twilio? Did I see Twilio and Airbnb issuing senior notes last week? Can you explain what they are? I think I need a whole video because in terms of impact and things like Airbnb is actually interesting because they've begun a really aggressive advertising campaign recently as well. So I think I saw somewhere they spent a colossal amount of money. I think that they're really pushing on some of the developed countries, US, Western Europe, etc., opening up from this summer and then not really ever closing down because the amount of money they're pushing into that, given where they've been for the last year, is insane. So that would be quite interesting. I don't know if you've seen any of their ads, but they've really upped it, like online, banner, etc. What do we got? Transition to SPACs. Oh, so many people saying, is my house mortgaged or bought? It's mortgaged. I have a whole video where I literally explain why I think it's a suboptimal thing to like until like maybe sure if I have a ton of money, if I become extremely wealthy and it's like a tiny thing for me, yeah, then sure I will go and pay off the house. But I don't really see the point of paying it off. It's the cheapest form of borrowing you can get. And if somebody can give me money at like 1.4%, whatever this mortgage is, 1.49 or something, and then I can go and do something with that money for a return that's greater, I don't really see the mathematical point of repaying. I get the psychological benefit of, hey, I don't owe I don't owe anyone money. But while I'm in the build stage of my life, while I'm in the building my business and doing stuff, I don't see the point of repaying stuff that is basically like it's kind of risk free in the sense that sure it can go up with inflation, but the investments that I'm making I think will be going up more. But also even if they don't, I'm trying to at the moment build cash flow so that then that cash flow can accelerate repayments in the future should I need to do that. And so like yeah, I don't know, like everyone to themselves. Like I think this is a point where most people disagree with me, but I kind of don't see the point. That's just me trying to teach a math thing, investing in future for a moral reason. I don't want to invest in oils or weapons, etc. A good feel about my choices. Yeah, I think I accidentally maybe do some of that, but it's probably not necessarily like I think I have decent morals, whatever. But investing is investing, and I think sometimes being too idealistic can also be a negative. What are we having here? We're having a little tip. Are we at the top? Are we at the top? We're at the top on here. Apple never got anywhere to the top, but they're doing the same downward trend again. So Apple could be heading south today based on this. If you look at like their bounce, so they went down about the same, maybe not even as much as some of the others, maybe not even as much as some of the other tech stocks. But they're now going down. So they're all turning, as is the overall S&P 500, even Twilio, but Apple never climbed back up. So that's quite an interesting one. Amazon's going crazy, people are saying. Not that crazy. I mean, yeah, 2% up, now falling back down to like 1 point something percent. It's similar, right? I mean, like the fluctuations between different stocks, but it's similar. It's similar. Do I think Airbnb will use their model in commercial space? I have no idea. I don't know what's going to happen in commercial space because there's so many companies out there. Like in the UK, for example, like Workspace and other companies, like more globally, like WeWork. I used to have offices in WeWork. My first office and my second office were in WeWork, and like there's some really good stuff about it, but also for anything above a tiny office, they become incredibly expensive. But anyway, I don't know what those companies are going to be doing. I don't know whether things are going to return substantially enough to normal for them to survive. I'm guessing that the level of depth they had to go into that we're going to be seeing down the line are going to be pretty insane on the back of all the things that have been happening. So I don't know what's going to be happening. And if I was Airbnb, I'd probably just try to rebuild my core business first rather than dive. I just don't see... There's such an oversupply of commercial premises at the moment of all kinds that I'm not sure if you necessarily want to be entering into that. Peloton and Jumia, Bumble, yeah, people are into all this cool stuff, especially things that have been exploding in the last year. You can set your own templates so you're not changing everything into candlestick 1 minute patterns from time to time. Yeah, I need to do that. I will do that at some point. I was mentioning right at the beginning of this feed that I was so busy doing a few other things this morning, a few other videos and stuff that I never got onto it. What else people say? eToro is good because you can use the desktop as well as Android. Yeah, same with Trading 212. Same with most apps. It's just FREETRADE is the odd one out, but apparently, according to the CEO, something's coming. What is your opinion on REIT investments? I'm not a big fan because REIT investments are sort of like, they've become really popular, and especially if some YouTubers really strongly advocate them, even though the returns are really low. But it's sort of like let's pretend that we own property or we are invested in property, but yet not yield the returns that property would yield if you actually own property, but yield the returns of like a sort of managed fund at like 4 or 5% or something like that, maybe sometimes a little bit higher. But I don't really understand, because You don't like with property, you might get massive benefits if when you come to a place where you can actually have a proportion of your investments in property, like real property. You get the benefit that, essentially whoever lives in the properties that you own pays for your investment, and the investment then grows over time as well. And there's like this double whammy that multiplies by itself, and it can get really lucrative. With REITs, it's just like you're funding somebody else's property empire in exchange for being paid a few percent. That's my view on it, but through paying the fees associated with the funds. Yeah, I just keep looking at the funds and the performance metrics and what their benchmarks are. I don't understand it, but maybe I'm just an idiot. It's quite possible. It's quite possible. So because I have no idea what I'm doing. So there we go. When can I make a video about options? I generally need to make more videos about some topics a bit further down the line. Like you'll notice most of my content so far has been on quite introductory level topics, and that's intentional because I think in the UK we haven't had very much of this kind of content, and the content that I did see out there is often either incorrect in some ways, or people are extremely biased because I've seen lots of cases where people are very actively being paid to promote some services or things they talk about at the expense of their audience, or just people don't really do a good job of explaining it. So I'm trying to sort of create an initial batch of content. I think we're going to be diving, like I don't talk about CFDs because I don't recommend most people get in them and stuff like that, but there's still useful information that can be produced that explains a lot of stuff about them. I'm going to talk a lot more about that as time wears on. I only have so many hours in the day, precisely about 9 or so. So we're in a platform like Webull here in the UK that offers options and warrants. Yeah, the latest I've heard from them is they're not on their way. And the truth is, like, I'm not sure which of these, because the platforms like Trading 212, etc., are making so much money from just more customers joining and new fees that I'm not sure if this is going to be at the top of their agenda at the moment, because there's new products. For example, like what FREETRADE did with opening a SIP is probably a better move in terms of the potential. And also, this is one where the ethical side is slightly different, where, FREETRADE probably will be very slow, if ever, to the CFD / options trading, to any other types of things like that. Just because they have a slightly different perspective on what they're trying to achieve. I think there's a really good reason why they have a 0.45% foreign exchange fee, and that is to deter day traders and people sort of who don't have the long-term investment mindset, which is the point of this app really, from using the app for trades, because it doesn't have the data, it doesn't have the tools, because it only uses a relatively small number of matchmakers or platforms compared to maybe some really big established like day trading specific systems. Their spreads naturally you're not allowed to add to the spread, but the spread's actually going to be a bit wider and things. So I'm not sure if those platforms are going to go down that road, but we'll see. If they do, it'll take them some time, I think. You might use Trading 212 opening using Hargreaves Lansdown right now, says Cam Prince, but they have very high charges. Yeah. So Trading 212, I have no idea. They're not updating it. They keep saying that there's no update in their community that I check every now and then. My personal opinion, that is based on nothing, is that they're going to be opening new accounts as soon as that change in foreign exchange fees happens. Because what they don't want to do is they don't want to book new accounts now, and then in just a few days' time, those new accounts will have their foreign exchange fee switched. They also probably don't want to book new accounts on a different set of parameters and different pricing to existing accounts, because that's a load of extra work that that involves when the fee switches, only migrating part, and that means that in advance you have to put some people onto a different set of fees in a different way that flows and works. So I don't think that's going to happen for that reason. So just from knowing nothing about what they're doing, I would imagine that they're probably going to reopen new accounts pretty much like on 3rd of April. That would be my guess. Or on the 3rd of May, if the other changes in the terms and conditions are material. But actually, no, I don't think so. I think 3rd of April, if I had to guess. I don't know. But it's not looking likely because they're not announcing anything. Even people who applied a few days before they closed that were waiting for verification still haven't had even that done. So, right. What else have we got? I don't like REITs, but with the buy-to-let being taxed the way it is, yeah, there's one-off taxes, but in the long term, I think they can really be withered down. Best place to watch live stocks. I am working on this one, Freddie. I in the UK there isn't really, there's lots of platforms out there like Yahoo Finance that people use and other stuff, but um, I'm going to get better. I'm going to do a lot of research as to what the visually the best way of doing it is, just because like I show you these charts and it's kind of interesting, but there's got to be a better way that I can flick between them. So at the moment I can flick between these, and the best one out of the apps that I use is probably this Trading 2121, but hopefully I'll figure out better ways. If people have a really good way of doing this stuff that looks better and is cleaner, just send me a note or tweet me or put it in the chat. It would be really useful. But we will get better at it. In the waiting list for Train 212, do you have any idea? Yeah, people keep asking the same question, Paul. I have a feeling we're like 4 weeks away. That's my personal view. Sasha, being paranoid, I'm convinced there are algorithms that analyze retail investors' stops, which can then easily work out how much to drop the market to then make these stops available to buy. I severely doubt that, because not only is that technically sort of illegal in the UK, I guess that sort of would count as a order flow process of selling information about them in a live environment as people place them. But secondly, I think building the infrastructure to bake in different companies into selling, I just don't see that being a thing, because that's like a lot of jail time that people would be risking. I'm not convinced. Generally, whenever I hear these kind of things, I'm not convinced. Thoughts on General Electric has been doing very well. Yeah, I always love this thing. So General Electric has decided to catch this wave of EVs by pretending that they're an EV. So they did that whole thing with Nikola where they're saying we're going to partner with Nikola, and that was all pretty funny. And then they keep saying that they're going to be releasing all these cars and changing their production line, but so far it's been so much talk, and yet people seem very convinced by this talk. I'm not, because until I see actual factories whipping out actual volume of these cars and the quality of the cars and the competitiveness of them being right up there, and then switching their production lines, until then, I'm just not convinced. But they're getting a lot of boost. So yeah, if we look at the last, what should we do? Hour? No, more. Yeah, they've been really enjoying this ride of positivity for some time now, and all of this is like, all of this over here is when, oh, you can't see my screen. Sorry, all of this over here is when the whole Nicholas story was developing, and lots of total just BS is coming out of that story. Excuse my French, but then it was sort of, yeah, I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure about General Electric in the long run until I see something actually changing. But when you withdraw funds from Trading 212 Invest account, what taxes do you pay? You pay nothing at the moment. When the new fees kick in, you will have to pay the 0.15% on any non-primary currency of your account, pounds probably, to sell, but nothing to withdraw as it stands. Although the issue is, so a lot of people are pointing this out. I have no idea either way, but the big step was to break away from the we don't charge fees position. But now that they're away from that, now that they're saying, hey, we are going to charge fees, I think that's the sort of like ripping off the band-aid. That's the big step. And the step to then charge some other fees, I think, is relatively low, although they have to give this notification, they have to tell people that the terms and conditions are changing, etc. So I guess because they haven't really been doing anything like this for a long time, I'm guessing that they're going to look at the data. They're going to look at what the performance is like, how many people actually have tried to leave the platform. My expectation is very few will, because they're still pretty much the cheapest. I'm actually going to be doing a video on this hopefully later today, explaining kind of where some platforms might be cheaper than others. It's not as straightforward as it might seem now, because in some cases one platform is cheaper and in some other cases another platform is cheaper. I am going to cover that in detail for anyone interested, and then I'll do the same for ISAs later in the week, maybe tomorrow or the day after. But they're still cheap. They're still very, very cheap, and in many cases the cheapest platform out there. So I don't see people leaving, and so because of that, they'll probably look at it and say, well, will people care about an exit fee? Because that's like the fee that people seem to care least about on these platforms. Probably not. So introduce like a $5 on there, like with eToro or something like that. Yeah, we shall see. I think given that they are now beginning to charge some fees, it is not unlikely that more fees will be charged. I guess, from my personal opinion of somebody who knows nothing about what they're doing, we shall find out. Thoughts on investing in railway companies like Buffett? I generally don't. I'm not a big subscriber to sort of trying to copy what somebody like Buffett does, for many, many different reasons. One is a lot of what like Buffett does, we don't really know. We don't know the rationale. We don't know the actual timing, and we don't know what they're trying to play. And we don't know if it affects the rest of their portfolio in some way, and we don't know what they're planning to do with the stocks, because this is a different thing altogether. We're retail investors. We have literally no impact through our investing. When big funds, etc., make plays, they can affect what the company does. They can place their own people on their board of directors. They can influence the share price just with their own buying and selling, and then play that. I just think when people go and begin trying to compare, and especially all these videos, I know I'm going to show you what Warren Buffett does. It's just like a completely different game, and people need to realize that, because trying to model yourself, and also this is a guy, like, he didn't become rich through investing. Like, I think people need to understand that, because there's a big misconception. He became rich through building successful businesses, some of which were in the investing space. But he became rich because he has a fund and people pay fees to be in that fund. He didn't take $100, put that $100 in the investing market, do nothing else, and then become a multi-billionaire. That's not how it happened. So people need to just think that, like, it's a different business model. It's a different thing to the way you or I would be playing in this space. So modeling behavior on that, I think, is probably not what I would recommend. But anyway, let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the candlesticks, because they are shifting. We are back down to minus 1.5% on Tesla. This is pretty interesting. This happened relatively quickly while I was blabbing on. AMD is down further than the previous drop. What happened with Apple? Because Apple is continuing the slide. This is now what, 2%-ish, maybe. We need better data on this. This is the thing. So I can see the graph is nice, but it'd be nice if there was just some data in here. Again, maybe somebody recommended that I go set up my own things, my own setups here, so that I can get better information. I will play with that. But yeah, it's down. It's not good. Amazon back to sort of opening position ish, maybe. Google, same. S&P 500, yeah. So first half an hour kind of wiped out. A few of the tech guys dropped. Twilio decided it's staying up. Nice. Keep doing that. What's Pinterest doing? Because Pinterest had a crazy volatile few months. What's Pinterest doing? Doing the same as pretty much everybody else. Down, up, and then down, back to roughly the same place. And is Tesla sliding? Ooh. And we're back to exactly the same price as we were at opening. So the entirety of the last half an hour is just a lot of hot air. I apologize. Cannabis stocks doing nicely. Yeah, a lot of people talk about them. Again, I don't have any investments in that. Maybe I should. Maybe I shouldn't. I have no idea. So what are people saying? Most people are locked in as making a loss at the moment. Yes, that is true. And I guess the difficulty there is with trading 212 is it's quite a smart play if you think about it. So introducing this fee, they know that the fees on the other platforms are bigger. That's point number one. So that prevents people from leaving. But even if people do want to leave, the issue they're going to have is not just the fact that they're down, but also they have to sell. And even if they can sell at the moment without fees on trading 212, when they go move, if you move to eToro or DeGiro or Stake or any of the other ones, you're going to be losing money in the process of buying into the other app. In one way or another. They all have slightly different ways of charging money, but like, you're going to be losing, give or take, 0.5% of your portfolio, but just making the switch. And they know that people are going to be thinking that and saying, well, logic, maybe I don't like them for what they've done, but I'm going to lose money if I choose to go and do something different. And so on that basis, it's kind of interesting, because I'm not sure if people are really going to be switching, because do people really want to lose 0.5%? now versus potentially losing 0.15% at some point in the future. But yeah, the losses, people say that you only lose money when you sell, and that is true unless you then go and rebuy immediately. But even though people can do that, and better breakfast team will kind of show that you haven't really sold, if you like, in terms of your long-term holdings. I'm just not convinced that any people will really do it. So it's kind of like a smart business move from Trading 212, because I actually think very, very few people will leave as a result of this. But once they're then baked in, then the process of leaving becomes harder, because if they say add an exit fee, then in order to avoid the exit fee, people would then have to sell and lose 0.15%. And then if they stay beyond that, then you can see the sort of how the snowball can get built that way. What are people saying? Please have a look at Tap Lifestyle and Wellness. I don't know. I don't really have that much interest in them. I'm not sure if lots of other people. I've seen this same comment a few times, but I just don't really invest in them, and I'm not sure. I don't know. You should check it out, Ron. I've got 180 people here. Plug looking okay this afternoon so far. A lot of people have money indirectly in Plug, so that's probably kind of interesting, because a lot of people have clean energy or some other type of thing like that, and these guys are in those quite heavy, so they're doing okay. Better than most, I guess, because they're sort of up. Yeah, we're just seeing swings up and down. But they're more volatile, I guess, than they are in a normal environment. Although, what is normal? Like, the whole last year wasn't normal. The first few months of this year are not normal. I'm not sure if we have a normal in the investing sense at some point where things don't really move, and we see, like stocks closing not 2% up or down every day. Maybe one day we'll go back to something like that. Nvidia hurts. Really? Yeah, it's not doing good. AMD sort of, yeah, both not doing great. Unless I missed some news. This is an interesting thing, but I need to go and read up on some news, because I haven't been doing very much reading this morning. Apple's still down, but sort of showing some form of recovery. And what's Tesla doing? Tesla is pulling up towards 0.75% up. Nice. What are people saying? What are my thoughts on kind of creative HCMC? I don't have many thoughts, if I'm honest. Either way. Maybe I should have more thoughts on everything, but I have strong thoughts on some things. Not particularly any thoughts really. I'll read into them a bit more to see if I should have some thoughts. What's happening with boring stocks? Let's have a look. What? Oh, I'm in the wrong. I'm in my ISA account, so I can't. Okay, whatever. I'll look at them another time. I can't be bothered to go and switch account at the moment. Yeah, there's another thing I need to solve. I should do this in my invest account, not in my ISA account, because then I can actually look at stocks that exist in that, or find a better platform. I'm still waiting for somebody to tell me. Can you look at Nintendo? Yeah, I have Nintendo. But the thing is, it's not the real Nintendo. It's not even the ADR. This is the Frankfurt one, I think. This is the one I have. It's the same thing, just the numbers. Yeah, jumping around is the answer, as is with everything else. So not much going on at the moment. We're still early, but not much. Just lots of ups and downs, early doors for the day traders to have a bit of fun with. Looks great. US being devalued. Apple, Amazon. Yeah, I agree. Will Apple go bust at any time? I don't see it anytime soon. They have one of the most robust business models out there. Crazy margins. They're building new propositions. They're working on the car. Like, there are entire industries that use their hardware and software that are so baked in that they will be buying the next computer that they release, regardless of what that computer is. I think they have one of the most robust. Any company can go bust. Investing is a risk. Any company can go bust. But if I had to weigh it, they would not be one of the companies I'd be thinking. So what's happening with Tesla? They are back down to the same price that they opened at, pretty much. Not much. What can you not do in an ISO account that you can do investing in? There's a few different things. Some of them not so material or important, but for example, you can't hold currency other than pounds in an ISO account. That's an important one. With these types of apps, you can't hold any other currency anyway, so it's not much of a difference. But you can't invest in certain markets, so the ISO restricts in what kind of companies and what kind of other products. So you can invest in ETFs, but there's some other types of things that you can't invest in an ISA that you can invest in a normal stocks and shares investing account. And also some markets. So they specifically list the type of markets that you can have, but that means that some less common ones or smaller ones you can't invest in directly at all. And so as a result, like, you just have a slightly more restrictive view. It's meant to protect people who have ISAs in a way, although I'm not sure it really does a huge amount on that protection front. But I guess it just standardizes it so that you can't go really wacky with your picks. I mean, you can go pretty wacky anyway, but not too wacky. Should you buy low and sell high? No, Ibrahim. The best strategy is to sell low and buy high. Yes, of course you should. That is the strategy. That is what everyone should do. The huge green trend is when Z Monopoly gang trade. Okay. Would I say Nintendo is a good investment for 20 years? 20 years, I don't think anyone has a good view for 20 years. I'm personally in because I think the next 5 to 10 years, I am excited about where they could go. 5 years, I'm pretty interested. So there we go. What I think about crypto, I didn't really think much about crypto other than Bitcoin, if I'm honest with you, just because for the same, like, Bitcoin has some now, like, little green shoots of adoption, of actually holding value, of being a form of exchanging value between other asset classes and types. But all the other crypto at the moment doesn't have any of those characteristics. And so that means the proportion of their kind of underlying value, perceived value, which is what people use in trading, is almost entirely hype. And that's not necessarily like a derogatory thing. It's not necessarily a really bad thing. It's just like prefer not to invest in products where there is very limited underlying value. You probably heard me talk about companies that don't have products, for example, don't produce products or produce services yet. It's the same sort of rationale in my mind. So that's why I'm not in those either. What are people saying? Maybe around 600 for Tesla, about fair value. Who knows? I'm going to be doing a video. I'm hoping on Friday, but it might be later just because I've been so busy with stuff, and it'll take that video needs a lot of prep, unlike some of my other ones. Well, I'm gonna walk you through the model that I would use, and I just need to smarten it up considerably from what it is to be video worthy of how I value a company like Tesla. I'm going to tell you what my then valuation is. I don't want to go down the route of doing those videos where I'm in the corner over here, and I have a finger like this, and there's like Tesla, and then it says, like to the moon or plus 200%. I don't want to do that, but I do want to talk about methods for how I value companies, and maybe how that's different to some of the other people, and maybe how I perceive these things in a different way. So there we go. I'm seeing a lot of different questions which I think are very similar, which is like, do I use Hargreaves Lansdown, Interactive Brokers, other ones? I don't use them because the fees are so expensive that with my very limited portfolio of 20,000 whatever, it's just like not worth it, because I like to have quite a broadly diversified portfolio, and so my individual holding is going to be so low. One, many of them don't even do fractional shares. For example, if I want to hold any Amazon, I need to hold $3,200 minimum in any one platform. And so that's constrained, because if I want to have any kind of diversification, that means I can't have it with those platforms. And the second thing is the fees. Like, let's say I buy even relatively normal stocks like 500. We're talking like 1%, 2% fees. Like what are they? £10, £12. So if I'm buying a £500 stock or $500 stock, now we're talking like 2-3% to buy one share, and that's quite a large proportion of my portfolio. So I'm probably going to be buying like 100 shares, right? So I don't play with them just because I think they're futile, as it's given there are other platforms. If these other platforms didn't exist and that was my only route, I would figure out a way, and I'd figure out what the best kind of optimal route is. But given that there are other platforms available, and that number of other platforms is increasing, some of them better than others, I just don't play because I don't want to waste my money. Because sure, they have advantages. You know, they have stability. They have they don't just close your trades when they feel like, and other kind of stuff. But the cost is just so much that at the moment I don't really see the point. I'm sure I will be using them over time. Sure is about. I hope that as maybe my portfolio grows, etc., I'll be using them more over time. But we shall find out at that point. Opinion on AT&T. I don't really do dividend investing in terms of growth. I don't have any positive views on AT&T or other similar stocks because I don't see what they're doing or where they're going. And I don't do dividend investing. If you want to watch a video about dividend investing, Damien Talks Money just put out one over the weekend that you should go and check out. I have very similar views on dividend investing to him in that I don't see necessarily the point because the returns are so low. I might as well just have my money in like something super passive where I don't have to worry about it. It sounds nice, and every YouTuber out there seems to talk about dividend investing as though it's like the best thing since sliced bread, but I'm not interested in 4 to 5% returns from an investing portfolio. I can get that from much less risky asset classes. So I'm not sure why I'd want to go there, but anyway. Okay, so guys, Andrew Jig does lots of dividends. I'm not a fan of dividends. Yeah, everyone to their own. Again, some people might prefer them because there's this perception of stability, I guess, because you get paid money regularly, even if it's not maybe a lot of money. And some people prefer that, but that's not what I do. Guys, I'm going to do another 10 minutes or so, and then I'm going to jump off because I actually have to make another video later today, and I haven't even started collating the full research. I've got some notes, but I need to improve on that because it's going to talk about the pricing of different investment platforms and which one I think might be good. So I'm going to jump off for that, but let's just go and do another round of looking. So Tesla at the moment is just under 1% up. That's good. AMD hovering at 77. Okay. Nvidia still down, battling, not falling much further, sort of sticking around for a little bit. Apple, have they overcome the big drop at the beginning? Not really. Sort of lost their 2% and staying down there. Amazon flat. Google doing okay. Nice. Overall S&P. And this is really interesting, right? This is so interesting. So I am basically invested in the stuff that is falling while the overall S&P 500 is doing absolutely perfectly fine, which means everything else that I'm not invested in must be doing all right today. So there you go. Primary example here. You can see on your screen as to why you should not listen to what this random Russian is saying. You should go and make your own decisions. Because maybe I'm completely wrong on everything. And see, you could be doing much better today if you weren't invested in any of the things that I'm invested in. So there you go. Twilio having a decent day, kind of climbed quite solid, right? And then staying there. Let's get rid of this. Pinterest sitting nice and flat. Okay. Thank you very much. Somebody saying be grinding hard. I'm trying to increase my number of YouTube videos. It's sort of like the harder I push myself, the better I think I learn of how I can do things in a more streamlined way. So today, this is my 4th video, and I'm going to do a 5th, which would be my record. I've only ever managed to do 4 in a day so far. It's slightly cheating because a live video, I guess, doesn't require any editing really, and it doesn't require any preparation. I just blab. So it's sort of cheating, but I'll take it. And it's fun. It's fun to do these because I get to interact with people, answer a few questions. Not too many questions today. People just kind of sharing thoughts mainly. If anyone has a question they want to answer in the next 5-10 minutes or so, make sure you drop one. I don't know if I can answer it or help, but let's see. Dividends tend to be retirement thing. Dividends are bonds are still yeah. Like I think I probably have this perception because I'm just still relatively young in the grand scheme of things. I kind of feel I'm probably a good 30-35 years away from retirement. So for me, the risk factor is not really that material because I'm not trying to minimize my risk over the next 3 years when I'm having to buy an annuity or something. So that's probably pertinent to my particular outlook on this versus maybe some other people. But hey, that's what it's at. Do you still this FREETRADE is worth starting off with? Yeah, I love the platform. So they're more expensive than trading 212, right? But they're still cheaper than many. And they're sort of in one way cheaper than eToro, but in another way more expensive in the fact that 0.45% is cheaper than 0.5%, but 0.5% with eToro only gets charged when you deposit and then withdraw, whereas 0.45% by eToro by FREETRADE gets charged every single time you do a trade. So that's if you buy into a stock and then sell out, you're 0.9% down. So they are more expensive, but it's all relative. So I think like we often get really bogged down. It's all relative. All of these platforms are still way cheaper than all the big old platforms that have been around for a long time that lots of people still use. So those platforms, they charge you 1 to 1.5% per trade on foreign exchange fee, pretty much all of them, and they then charge you management fees for using the platform, which are a percentage of your portfolio, and they then charge you per trade transaction fees that are typically £10 to £12. So each time you buy, minus £10, then go and sell another minus £10. So I think it's easy to forget, like these platforms are so cheap that if all the other platforms are up here, they're all down here. That there might be slight differences like this, but they're still so cheap. And it's easy to say, well, FREETRADE is 3 times the price of trading 212, therefore it's expensive, but it's like infinitely cheaper than all the other stuff. I like the company for what they do and how they interact and how they communicate and where they're headed and where they're going and what they're doing. I think that's going to yield them big long-term dividends. They opened up with, this is a sustainable business model. And I really appreciate that because they literally said that. They said, this is what we need to be able to make money. They didn't go and pretend that they can run a business where everything's free and then introduce the fees once all the customers are on board because, the platform was free. So I kind of like a lot about them for that reason. And my portfolio with them is growing and it will be growing more. I think over the next few months considerably. So watch this space. I can't read everything here. Can I reinvest dividends into an ISA? What happens to this? Takes me above. You can reinvest. Yeah, dividends are just a profit. So I get asked this question a lot. I feel like I need to make a special video on some simple questions about like investing in specifically stocks and shares, ISAs and stuff. But dividends are a form of yield or income on the investments. The £20,000 limit does not cover any growth in your stocks or dividends. It only covers the amount that you physically deposit into the account. So if you go and put 20,000 deposit into the account, and then within the same financial year your portfolio grows and you get 50,000 in dividends and another 200,000 in growth of the stocks, it doesn't matter. It's all tax free because you only put in 20,000 of your actual money into it. Do I think Apple will acquire Peloton? I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm not convinced. I don't know. Maybe, but I just think the valuation of Peloton has skyrocketed so hard, and I'm not sure. I don't know. If they're trying to do we want to dominate the space play, and the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal for them. Maybe, but I don't know. I don't know either way. All right. Are there any other questions apart from trading? What have you invested on? So I talked about it in some videos, Ibrahim. The primary space where I've been investing my money, which is sort of odd, I get maybe to some people, is my business. So I have a whole long story about my consulting business. I actually have a few videos on my second channel if you want to check that out. But so even setting up this YouTube thing, which is part of my online content business, and I'm very open about it, I'm trying to make this my full-time thing. It costs a lot of money, like setting up the camera stuff, all the gear, lighting, computer and stuff. We're talking like thousands and thousands of pounds worth of money that needs to be spent. So I've been investing some on that. My old business, there's a long story, but that was much more money that I invested in that over time, and the stuff I yielded, but also just have personal property and other things that are not really investments of any kind, but I'm not going to go into the depths. Pretty boring. Yeah, I don't have much in way of investments. I have a whole video which basically says this, in case anyone wants to go and watch it. I think the thumbnail says I suck at investing. So make sure you watch that if you're interested in finding out all the details. do you think the full access 999 free trade is good values? I have the £3 a month ISA with them already. It really depends on what you do. So full disclosure, I actually have the Plus account because they give it to me for free for like a year or something, because I have that, influencer thing where I have links where people click on them and they create accounts. And because of that, they kind of throw that in as part of the package. So I get the benefits of having that without having to pay for it. I do pay for some other services. Like, for example, I pay for the SIP account. But if I was just regular investor, long-term investor, and I was creating an account, I probably wouldn't pay for it, because I don't really care about the 3% on cash, because I don't plan to have any cash in my account for any significant amount of time. And the other key benefits really are twofold. One is the transaction types, like stop losses, limit orders, things like that. And I hardly really use them because I don't day trade. I don't do short-term stuff. I sometimes go like on a holiday. I won't look at my portfolio for days and weeks. I don't care. They might fall, they might rise in the long term, because the kind of companies I'm invested in, I don't really have short-term worries about them. And so I don't really use those features anyway. I know a lot of people say they're hugely important, and they sort of are. It's good to have them in your arsenal, but and then the third thing is they do offer an extended number of stocks in the Plus account, especially with some like small cap things. So I think you go to from FTSE, I can't remember exactly, from FTSE 350 to like more, or 250 to 350 or something like that. I can't remember. And on some of the other markets as well. But I don't really invest much in those companies anyway. Like, sure, I hold like, I don't know, Team 17 or some other fun games things on the AIM market, but like I pretty much don't invest in that kind of stuff anyway, so it doesn't really affect me. So I personally probably wouldn't pay for it if I didn't already have it. However, yeah, sure. So if you're already having to pay £3 for the ISA and suddenly it's only £7, and you're like, will I make use of it? It makes a slightly different point. And also, if you then also want to get the SIP, you also get a discount on the SIP price if you have the Plus account. So maybe it makes it more worth it if you use the family of products. I don't know. All right. One last question. Taking a set amount each month, say £500 to invest, better going with Trading 212 or FREETRADE ISA and pick individual shares, or go with like a Vanguard? It really depends on your mindset. So like if you invest in specific stocks, like I'm telling you what I do, which is I don't look at it very frequently, but you do need to actually manage it, and you do need to change it over time, because companies change and their growth changes and their ambitions and their performance, everything changes. So it does require active management. Whereas if you invest in something passive, like relatively passive, like an S&P 500 index, you pretty much don't have to do anything other than just reinvest if you feel like doing it. It really depends on the mindset of the investor. I can't tell you, because everyone's different, and I do things one way, but other people do things their own way, and I can't recommend. I'm not a financial advisor. I do things my way, and I have a video where I talk about my investing strategy, which I hold relatively. I'm slightly out at the moment because of what's happened over the last week on my distributions, but I have a proportion of my portfolio in index funds, but the vast majority is not. So that's it. All right, guys. I am sorry. I'm gonna have to go because I have to go make another video. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for all the questions. I hope you guys found it useful. I really appreciate your time. I'm sorry it wasn't a bit more interesting. And I will see you guys later.